across this article on smartasset.com. And if you go to my website at heritagewealthplanning.com, you'll know I use Smart Asset quite a bit for my tax calculator tools, your state-by-state tax guide. And so it's interesting when I came across this, the average debt, the average household debt in the United States. And so let's dive right into this, my friends, and see what we're looking at, because this is pretty interesting in my opinion. And of course, if you don't read the whole thing, you might miss the headline, the average debt by age. But you got to read this stuff. You can't just look at the headline. I think a lot of people just look at the headlines and they make their decisions on headlines as opposed to actually the article. American debt levels tend to peak in middle age. Don't forget subscribe and thumbs up. Smash the thumbs up. Smash. You might notice that I'm not as my sprite as my normal self today. Man, fighting off something, man. We got 4 kids. Oosh. Someone's always getting sick somewhere, and sometimes it infects you. Somehow my wife doesn't infect her. I don't know why. Is she really a human being? Have I actually seen her bleed? I actually have, having 4 children. All right. So the average debt levels tend to peak in middle age, while seniors tend to have lower debt levels. They've had more time to pay down mortgage, credit card, and student loan debt. For many Americans, a debt-free retirement is a dream that feels very far away. Man, ain't that the truth? Want to take a more focused look at the average debt by age? You come to the right place. All right, smartasset.com. The average debt for those under 35 years old. Every 3 years, the Federal Reserve conducts a survey of consumer finances, this SCF. I talk about that a lot. You got the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have the Consumer Expenditure Survey. You got the SCF, the Survey of Consumer Finances, and then you got the Health and Retirement Study, HRS. All of these things, I'm just telling you, if you're not using them to get a gauge of where the average American family is, I mean, I don't know how people can make any kind of observation without looking at these 3 primary sources of contemporary research. I don't get it. But anyway, all right, so the SCF. In 2013, the survey found the average debt for households that have debt and have a head of household age 35 or less is $82,500. So did you catch that? The survey found the average debt for households that have debt is $82,500. Not all householders in this age bracket have debt, which is why the Fed bases this average only on in-debt households. Mortgage debt on primary residence in this age group averages $142,000. I hope you got that. So if you don't have debt, they're not being included in this house. Not all householders have in this age bracket have debt. The average mortgage debt for people who have debt is $142,000. Now I'm telling you right now, what a lot of people are going to see is the average debt by age, 35 or under. They're going to say the average debt is $82,500. That's simply not the case. So they could not have explained it clearly. More clearly, they say not all householders in this age bracket have debt, which is why the Fed bases this average only on in-debt households. So folks who are not in debt are not even considering the average. The average debt for those 35 to 44, debt levels are higher for households with a head between 35 and 44. In fact, householders in this age bracket, again, who have debt, have the highest debt levels of any age bracket. Their average debt, $152,000. Average mortgage debt on a primary residence in this age group is $185,000. Now, I mean, just remember, so they're saying the average mortgage debt is we'll just say $186,000 in this age group. The previous age group, the average mortgage debt was $142,000. But you might be saying, well, how come the average mortgage debt is substantially higher than the average debt? Well, because some folks don't have mortgages. They have student loans, credit cards, and car loans, but no mortgages. That's just, in fact, I don't know about a majority, but I bet there's a significant number of folks who carry debt with no mortgage because they rent. I mean, I can't guarantee anything because I haven't looked at the studies specifically, but I can almost assure you that's the case. So in this case, if you have a mortgage of $186,000 and you're between the age of 35 to 44, you are average. But again, average is not the same thing as median. I still like to use the average because it's of interest for sure. But remember, the median is 50% above and 50% below. The average is we just take everybody, we divide by the number of participants, and that's our average. So me and Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos has $50 billion of assets. I have none. Our average asset level is $25 billion. All right. That doesn't make any sense. In this case, the median would be $1. All All right. They have 50% of the people have more than $1 or have $1 or more, and 50% of the people have less than $1. So you see how that works? So the average is interesting, but the median is what we're wanting to look for, because the average can be skewed by outliers on either side of the equation, big time. The average debt for those 45 to 54, that's your old buddy Josh. It seems as household debt levels start to decline for average householders between 45 and 54. The average debt for debtors in this age bracket is $150,000. It's probably not a coincidence that the average salary for those in that age bracket is the highest for any age. I wonder why they didn't say the mortgage on that. That's weird. All right. They said the mortgage before that, but they didn't say it in there. And it's between the ages of 55 and 64, Americans start to think about retirement. I hope they thought before that. But among heads of households who have debt and are in this age bracket, average debt level stands at 131. They might have assets in excess of this debt, but they might have negative net worth. Okay. That's an odd sentence. They might have assets in excess of this debt, but they might have negative net worth, or they might also have negative net worth. You can't have both. You can't have assets in excess of your debt and also have negative net worth. So some people might have negative net worth, and some people might have assets in excess of that debt. Well, that's the same thing for all these other people. It's an odd sentence. The average debt for those 65 to 74, in a perfect world, you would be debt-free by the time you retire. That scenario is not realistic for many Americans, however. Householders in this age group who have debt carry an average debt of $108,000. Among those in this age group who have debt secured by their primary residence, the average mortgage debt is $130,000. So if you are between 65 and 74 and you have a mortgage, your average mortgage debt is $130,000. I just don't like that. I think that's a wrong move. I really do. Seniors age 75 and older by far have the lowest average debt, and that would make sense. Among those who still carry debt, the average debt is just $57,000. I don't know about that. Seniors in this age group have some advantages of other age groups. Of course, they've had more years to earn money and pay down their mortgage, but they also benefited from a time when real wages were higher. They may even have pensions from their old jobs, and their wages probably weren't affected by the 2008 recession. Maybe. Home ownership is the primary source of both wealth and debt for many Americans. Could not agree more. However, today's younger Americans tend to have higher student loan debts and tending to delay home ownership. But I'm telling you right now, student loan debt, you can't write it off. It's not going to get you secure in your home because you're carrying on $120,000 of debt. No bank is. If you're making $35,000, you get $120,000 student loan debt, and your average payment is $700. You're not going to get a loan for a mortgage. It's just not going to happen. That might not be the worst thing that ever happened, but if securing your own little piece of the American dream is by home ownership, that's going to be problematic. I'm getting ready to do another video actually that talks about the benefit of home ownership relative to renting in terms of it's kind of the emotional, the way we can validate that actually. It's pretty interesting, as a matter of fact. And we'll talk about that here in just a second, another video. However, there are steps you can take to get out of debt or to avoid going in debt in the first place. A financial advisor can help you with major financial goals. I don't care. So basically what Smart Asset does is they have this financial advisor matching tool. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know who the advisors are, and the advisors don't know who the clients are. So whatever. You can do it. I don't have any problem with it. I just don't know who those people on the other side are. And it's almost going to be like a lendingtree.com thing where you put your information, you might get called by 4 or 5 people. Now, some of these advisors, I know this for a fact, they'll actually pay to be on the Smart Advisor list. So if you got a guy who needs to pay to get his name out there via smartasset.com, I don't have a problem with that, but it makes me wonder the quality of financial advice that these guys are doing, because they have to have a return on investment. If they're investing $1,000 at smartasset.com, they have to get a return on that investment, which means they have to make money off it. No other way around that. And I just wonder how much of that is closed. I don't know. We have multiple. Okay, I'm not going to talk about tips for getting out of debt, but anyway, see, they have any no comments here. So. It's an interesting article, odd. And one of these days I'll go with the SCF, the Survey of Consumer Finances. I don't want to do that right now, but I thought you might find that interesting. So again, a couple of things. These are just for people who have debt. If you don't have debt, this is not applicable to you at all. And it's not applicable to you can't say Americans as a whole, the average debt by age. It's simply not true. The average debt by age for people who have debt, but it might be helpful to you nonetheless. And I'll, of course, put a link in the show notes. So don't forget to smash, subscribe, share, and comments are always helpful. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks now.